A special thank you to each of our subscribers who make this channel possible. Here's today's story. As the United States approaches a pivotal election, the world watches closely, aware that the choice between Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald J. Trump carries profound implications. The ramifications of this decision will reverberate across continents, influencing everything from the ongoing conflicts in Gaza and Ukraine to the urgent issue of climate change and global trade dynamics. The question looms large. What path will America choose, and what kind of superpower will it aspire to be in the coming years? In Israel, sentiments are clear. Polls indicate that if given the chance, a significant majority would cast their votes for Trump. However, regardless of who emerges victorious, experts suggest that the long-term impact on Israeli-Palestinian relations may be limited. Israeli society has grown increasingly resistant to the notion of Palestinian statehood, and this trend is unlikely to shift dramatically with a change in U.S. leadership. If Harris takes office, she may apply more pressure on Israel to pursue a ceasefire and engage in dialogue with Palestinian leaders. Yet, the prospect of cutting off military support remains unlikely. On the other hand, Trump's administration could potentially allow for more aggressive Israeli policies, particularly concerning Jewish settlements in Gaza. His unpredictable nature complicates predictions about his foreign policy, leaving Israeli leaders uncertain about how to navigate a potential Harris administration. The stakes are equally high for Ukraine, where the election outcome could reshape the dynamics of American support. Some Ukrainians harbor fears that Trump might push for a hasty peace agreement favoring Russia, while others worry that Harris might scale back military assistance. Ironically, Trump's presidency saw the introduction of military aid to Ukraine, raising questions about whether a return to his leadership would ultimately benefit the embattled nation. Meanwhile, Russian President Vladimir Putin appears to view both candidates through a similar lens, believing that U.S. commitment to Ukraine will diminish regardless of the victor. His public support for Harris may be strategic, as he seeks to engage in negotiations that could lead to a resolution favorable to Russia. China, too, is closely monitoring the election, with opinions divided on which candidate would be more advantageous. Trump's aggressive tariff proposals pose a significant threat to the Chinese economy, heavily reliant on American demand. However, his less interventionist approach to international alliances may appeal to Chinese leaders, who feel increasingly encircled by U.S. initiatives aimed at strengthening ties with neighboring countries. Conversely, Harris is expected to maintain a tough stance on China, continuing the Biden administration's efforts to bolster alliances in the region. In Europe, the election symbolizes the end of an era, with varying perspectives on the implications of a Trump victory. Nativist movements across the continent view Trump as a champion of their cause, while mainstream leaders express deep concern over his potential policies, particularly regarding NATO and trade tariffs. The prospect of heightened tariffs on European exports under a Trump administration could have disastrous economic consequences, while Harris is perceived as likely to prioritize domestic issues and a more self-reliant Europe. The global trade system stands at a crossroads, with U.S. voters facing a choice that could reshape international economic relations. Harris would likely maintain targeted tariffs on China, while Trump's approach promises sweeping and aggressive tariff increases, potentially igniting trade wars that could have far-reaching consequences for the global economy. Economists warn that such policies could lead to reduced trade, lower income, and a poorer world overall. In Africa, perceptions of Trump and Harris diverge. Despite his previous disparaging remarks about the continent, some view Trump as a decisive leader akin to many autocratic figures in Africa. Harris, with her familial ties to the continent, resonates more deeply with many Africans. The Biden administration's push for decarbonization contrasts with Trump's likely indifference to fossil fuel reliance, potentially appealing to nations resistant to the clean energy transition. For Mexico, the implications of a Trump presidency are daunting, with anticipated tensions at the U.S.-Mexico border and the threat of heavy tariffs looming over their economic relationship. Under a Harris administration, continuity with existing immigration policies is expected, but the overall climate for migrants remains fraught with challenges. Trump's promises to deport millions could have significant repercussions throughout Latin America, leaving Mexican leaders wary of their precarious position. Ultimately, the stakes are monumental. The U.S. has been a historical leader in carbon emissions, and its future policies will significantly impact global efforts to combat climate change. Should Harris win, a continuation of Biden's renewable energy initiatives is likely, while Trump's potential rollback of environmental regulations could stymie progress and empower nations like China in the renewable energy sector. As the world braces for the outcome of this critical election, the question remains: what direction will the United States take, and how will it shape the future of global politics, economics, and environmental efforts? The choices made in this election will resonate far beyond American borders, influencing the course of history for generations to come. That's all for this story. We upload videos every day covering many different subjects, so hit that subscribe button to stay informed. Thanks for watching.